All right, if you don't like Penn State, you're really probably not going to like this video very much because I'm going to talk about how good I think this Penn State team can be. And it started with a question I was asked at wrestling practice a couple days ago. They're like, do you think Penn State could possibly beat their own record this year with the team they're going to put on the mat? And gut reaction was, well, probably not. I mean, it's happened once every 20 years. They scored 172.5 points. I mean, we haven't seen that since Iowa in the 90s. What's the likelihood they could replicate again? And then you start looking a level deeper, and it's absolutely possible. And I'm going to get into the reasons why I'm saying that. So there's a couple reasons. You look at 125 and 133 last year for Penn State. They scored a combined 5 points between those two weights. You had Braden Davis and Aaron Nagao, who had fine years. I mean, Braden Davis was the daggone 1 seed at NCAAs. He only scored 2 points. That's how much you score in the round of 12. As deep a run as that is, you really don't get major points for that. So how likely is it that Penn State at 125 and 133 will score a combined 5 points? I personally think it's incredibly unlikely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in through how many they scored in 2024 and how many I think is a likely landing spot for how many they'll score in the 2025 NCAA tournament. So for 125, it's going to be Luke Liljedahl, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I think he's going to have a really good year. I have him penciled in for 10 points, which for what John Kozak thinks is going to happen is actually very conservative. He may say too conservative, but I'm just kind of playing it down the middle. That's kind of like 5th place points for Luke Liljedahl. John thinks he can win NCAAs and score 20 plus points. I'm putting him at 10. So maybe a conservative outcome. 133, it's either going to be Aaron Nagao or Braden Davis. I think either way, I expect an improvement from a year ago. Now, Braden, he was a true freshman last year. The weight cut was obviously a thing. It was known basically at the NCAA tournament. He's not going to see 125 ever again. So he's now up at 133. And I think we saw what he can do. He's a Big Ten champion as a true freshman, the top seed. And 133, is he going to be a top seed at 133? I don't know. Ryan Crookham is just that guy. I don't expect to see that. But I think we could see him make a deep run. Or if Aaron Nagao can return to form. Now, health has been a question with Aaron. He's had to miss some time, and I think health is a bigger question now. I think he's suffered an injury, and that's why I think Braden Davis is going to be the guy. But if it is Aaron Nagao, that assumes a couple things. One, health. And if he's healthy, I think you can expect more than 3 points from Aaron Nagao. I think it was a down performance last year. We saw what he could do 2 years ago. So I have this down for 8 points, which is like 7th-ish with like a major maybe. I think that's kind of a conservative estimate for 133 pounds. So instead of scoring 5 points between 125 and 133, I've got them scoring 18 points this year. They could score more. They could score less. So I'm kind of playing it down the middle for those weight class. 141, it's going to be Bo Bartlett again. He scored 20 points last year. I'm putting him down for 20 points this year. Now, you could say, well, Andrew Alirez comes back, and Andrew Alirez beat Bo Bartlett kind of soundly 2 years ago at NCAAs, and I'm not going to disagree. That cannot be disputed. That actually happened. But here's what also happened. Bo Bartlett beat Jesse Mendez last year. Fact. Bo Bartlett was in on a double leg. Head up, hips in, back straight. He finishes this double. He's an NCAA champion. Jesse Mendez hits the move of the tournament when he hit the Granby roll for 2. I mean, it's just one of the most unbelievable sequences in NCAA finals history. He goes from dead to rights to NCAA champion with 1 Granby roll. So, keeping him at 20 points, I think that's conservative and very fair, right? I expect Bo Bartlett to be contending for 20 points. Could he see an increase in bonus points? Because he scored 20 last year as the runner-up. Now, if you win, and if you don't know the NCAA scoring, maybe this is already like a really weird video to you. Sorry, I'm just kind of jumping into it. But if you win NCAAs, you get 20 points. Maybe I'll edit in the video scoring kind of the how many points you get per placement without bonus. But if you win NCAAs without bonus, it's 20 points. So Bo already scored 20 points at NCAAs. I think he could do it again next year. I think that's safe. 149, I'm putting them down for 19 points. It's going to be Shane Van Ness. 19 was how many they scored last year with Tyler Kasek. It's going to be Shane Van Ness this year. Now, I think this could be, it could be conservative. It could be on the high side. I think it's similar to Luke Liljedahl. I think it's more down the middle. Because if you think Shane Van Ness can't win this weight class and score 20-plus points, you're crazy. He already has a win over Caleb Henson, who is the returning national champ. Now, we saw Caleb Henson took a jump. Caleb Henson is the guy to beat. But there's a guy that's beating him. His name's Shane Van Ness. And he's back this year. He's presumably going to be healthy. He's a title contender, no doubt. So I'm putting him down for 19 points. Identical production from last year as Tyler Kasek. Now we go up to 157. Here's where it gets a little interesting, a little dicey for the 2025 team if they want to surpass the 2024 team's output. They scored 26 points because they had Levi Haynes here. That's a bad man. He's not going to be at this weight class this year. We know this. And I believe it's going to be Tyler Kasek moving up this year. So I put Tyler down for another 19 points. That's what he scored as a true freshman. I think you factor in the fact that he's going to be a year better, a year more acclimated. I think he's going to be the right size for this weight class. I think we saw him go from a 141, a big 41, to a good size 49, to now I think he's going to be a good size 157. We really saw his maturation before our eyes last year at the NCAA tournament. And so I expect similar production this year. And I'm not concerned that he's moving up a weight class. I think 149, 157, kind of similar prospects for Tyler, truly. I think he's going to do well. I think you've got guys like Meyer Shapiro. That's a tough matchup for Tyler. But his pace is a thing. Tyler Kasek's pace is a thing. You got Ja'Cory Teamer. I think that's a tough matchup for Tyler. But he'll get multiple cracks at Ja'Cory potentially between the duel against Iowa, Big Ten championships, and potentially NCAA championships. So I think I put down 19 points. Could he score more? I think that's possible. I think it's a fair gauge for him. 165, they scored 19.5. It was Mitchell Messenbrink last year. It's going to be Mitchell Messenbrink this year. So I think I added 4 more points because there is no Keegan O'Toole. There is no David Carr. I think he's going to win this weight class. And I gave 4 more points because you get 4 more placement points if you win, if you go from second to first. So 23 could be conservative for Mitchell. I mean, this is a guy who was scoring a ton of bonus points, and I think there's a lot of separation between Mitchell and his peers, and he's going to be a year better as well, right? I fully expect that. So look for Mitchell to have a really strong year. I think I've said he's the #1 like Hodge Trophy front runner, which is crazy to say, but it's not crazy when you look at the construction of the field and you look at just how good Mitchell Messenbrink is. I think he's going to have a big year. He's going to be the flag carrier for Penn State this year along with Carter Starachi. So moving up to 174. Now, Carter Starachi's not going to be there. He scored exactly 20 points. Now, you'll probably say, you can't do better than 20 points. I think you might. I think you look at Levi Haynes. This guy scored 26 points last year at the NCAA tournament, right? So even if he loses, even if we say, hey, Levi's not going to beat Keegan O'Toole, which there's absolutely no reason to think he can't beat him. We just saw him beat him in freestyle. We saw him get takedowns that would have been transferable. Freestyle, folk style, doesn't matter. Levi can win this weight class at 174. And so I have them scoring 25 points here. He scored 26 at 157. So I have a slight reduction. And maybe this is the one weight you could point to and be like, hold on, you're way too ambitious in the points you're putting down for Levi Haynes. But I don't know that I am. I feel like the move up, but my gut when guys change weights and move up is to be more, I'm more positive on the outcome, right? Because I think we saw last year with Levi, the weight kind of took a toll on him at certain points. We saw some dual performances. We saw some matches where you're like, man, it seems like the output's a little low. I think we're going to see a much higher output. I think we're going to see great work from the top position, a lot of turns, a lot of pins. He's already scored major points at NCAAs, and it's just unlikely, barring injury, that we see a reduction in that output. I put a little bit of reduction just because Keegan O'Toole is there. You're going to have Dean Hamady. He's going to be a tough out. But I'm putting big points for Levi Haynes at 174. So I think they're going from 20 points. Carter won it with no bonus because he was basically wrestling on one leg. Incredible accomplishment. I'm putting 25 down for him there. So that's a jump up. That's maybe the biggest leap I'm taking for Penn State prognostication, but I don't think it's that much of a leap. It's Levi Haynes. 184. This is a weight where we're going to see increased production for Penn State because Bernie Truax scored 12.5, and this year it's going to be Carter Starachi. He's going to score more. He scored 20 or more every single year at NCAAs. I'm putting them down for exactly 20 points. That could be conservative because that would be Carter Strachey winning NCAAs without any bonus points at all. But I'm also factoring in Parker Keckheisen is here, right? One, you're not likely to bonus Parker Keckheisen, but it's going to be a really hard task to beat him. I could see Parker. You guys need to open your minds to the fact that Parker Keckheisen could be the NCAA champion at 184 pounds this year. You are crazy if you don't think that's a possibility. It's a possibility. So I'll say this. If Carter wins, he's going to score more than 20 points. But if he doesn't win, I think he'll probably land around 20 points. So this is a conservative estimate for Carter Strachey. I'm putting him at 20. It could be more than that. 2 years ago, in 2023, he scored more points than anyone at the NCAA tournament. We could see a return to that again. Although with Parker in the mix, it's less likely to happen. So I'm putting them at 20 there. Now, 197, here's a big drop-off. They scored 27. That was that guy, Aaron Brooks. You may have heard of him. 4-time Big Ten champ, 4-time national champion, Olympic bronze medalist. As good as we've seen, right? So now, it's going to be a drop-off no matter who they put there. I think it's probably going to be Josh Barr, and I went super conservative here. I went just 5.5 points. That's a 8th place finish for 197. Now, it could be Josh Barr, big prospect. He was undefeated last year at 184, but in red shirt, right? We didn't see him in a lot of big opportunities. It could be Lucas Cochran, who filled in at heavyweight last year and beat Yaroslav Slavikuski, All-American heavyweight for Rutgers. So now it could be Lucas Cochran. It could be Connor Mirasola. If Connor is just that guy, if he goes and is just insane for his redshirt year and he's clearly better than Barr and he's clearly better than Cochran and he really proves himself at tournaments and some dual meets, then maybe it's him. I think it's unlikely it's Connor Mirasola. I think it probably is Josh Barr. And so I put a conservative 5.5 points here. And maybe that's, you may say them placing here is actually optimistic. That could be the case. I don't know that this is the deepest weight class compared to some. So I'm putting 5.5. Maybe that's too much. And then heavyweight, they have the same guy, Greg Kerpley. He scored 23.5 last year. I don't think that's a fluke at all. So I'm putting him down for 23.5 this year. That performance that I just predicted, that would put Penn State over last year's. That puts them at, I think, exactly 173 points. And so that would effectively break the record. Now, they still got it to do. It's going to be tough. And if you're asking me right now, does Penn State do it? I'm not as confident. I think it's going to be tough. I think this forecast had 10 All-Americans. Things happen in this tournament, even to great teams. Great teams have guys that could place and don't. And so for that reason, I'm saying probably they don't break the record. But this is a super realistic scenario where I think we could see this year's Penn State team actually outdo last year's, which is crazy to think about. And I think that fact just shows how great this Penn State team and how great this Penn State program is.